30 plus new transfers in and that many on the way out. There's only one way to go up for Boston College football, and that is up.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. I've been covering Boston College for over a decade. If you're looking for Boston College news, analysis, and details on your Eagles, you are in the right place. Locked On Boston College is a free daily Boston College podcast available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. On today's show, I'm going to give you my B-ball thought of the day. I'll explain what that means when we get to it. Owen Stodder, he's out. I'll explain what that looks like for the defense. And we need to take a step back for a second because we have dived so deep into the portal and each player. I want to take a big holistic look at what's going on and kind of give you my thoughts on all of that on today's show. But before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, so over the last 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, it feels like it's just been news item after news item after news item after news item with all these new players, all the new players coming for the last week or two and going before that. I haven't had a real chance to address with you all what is going on here because it feels like I've been just up to my eyeballs in breaking news. So let's take a step back. Let's pull this back and go from a meta analysis here. You lost 30 plus players in the portal. That's crazy. Now, one might look at this and say, "Oh, AJ, that was what happens when it's 2-10." And you may have a point there. But I also say, listen to Bill O'Brien the week before the portal opened. He said that he was expecting to bring in a portal class of 10 to 15 players. He's at 30 now. Something happened, and we don't know what it is because no one's going to talk about it, that forced this gigantic exodus of players and brought in more. So you have guys exiting that you can look at and say, I can figure that one out. That makes a lot of sense. Reed Harris, he went to Arizona State. He's going to be making more money. Bill even said it on his podcast today. Same thing with Turbo Richard in Indiana. You probably had some players that might have been upset about coaches leaving. Eric Doherty, Matt Applebon left. That was his positional coach, and pretty soon after that, he's in the portal. You have guys that just weren't playing. And then maybe you had other guys that there's other reasons, and we don't know what those are. But it was really interesting to see this because you add together, and this statistic is what blows my mind. You add the players exiting plus the players that graduated, and you are going to be replacing almost half of your roster from last year. For years, I would watch and joke about Deion Sanders or some of these SEC schools where the turnover was just crazy. And I said to myself, this would never, ever happen at Boston College. I could just never see it. And when I heard Bill's comment before the Christmas break, I was like, it's not going to happen here. And now look at it. It has happened here. And you know what? After a 2-10 season, I'm okay with that. Yeah, it stinks to lose your Reed Harrises and your Turbo Richards and, your Omar Thorntons. You probably can name the 5 that really hurt off the top of your hand. But to lose the rest, fine, whatever. You lost Bam Crouch. Bam, I thought was going to be an excellent linebacker here. He played 3 games, got hurt, miraculously showed back up for the Notre Dame game, and then shut it down for the rest of the season. I don't know what you want to imply happened there, but that was weird. And when he left, fine. If he was okay to play Notre Dame, but then wasn't okay to play what else, and then decided to hit the portal, goodbye. Good luck at your next stop. and that will be Kansas. So that happened. And you had other guys that just weren't playing. You had Ashton McShane, who I know he was hurt at one point, but I was there in the press box. He was in uniform for multiple games, and we never saw him play. I don't know why, but he's gone. I think after you went 2-10, flipping your roster is probably one of the better things that you could hope for. You get new names in here, you get fresh blood, and the blood that you brought in, most of them are experienced older bodies. You have 30 new guys coming in. You look at the guys that you're bringing in, whether it's a KJ Samson or an Anthony Palano or Reed Swanson, even a guy from Colgate. They all have big snap counts. And to me, that's an important factor going into next year. You needed to build depth. You needed talent too, because you're losing talent, but you needed depth behind them because you had nothing. That was the big issue last year, was when guys went down, there was no one behind them. And so you're bringing in Kevin, or what do you go, Kerm Humes. I think that I heard Bill calling that. It goes by Kerm. A cornerback that's played, a couple years. You get Cam Howard, a multi-year safety, and you got a Townsend punter that punted for the last 2 to 3 years. You get experience here. The question is how good is that experience, right? And how much can this staff bring that out of them? Because you're bringing in talent and you're bringing in guys that have played, but we got to see how they play together. I look at a team like Indiana, and I'm not going to, they brought in the I think Fernando Mendoza was the number 1 quarterback last year. They're bringing in Josh Hoover this year. They have money that BC doesn't have. But I think their philosophy is something that you can still copy, which is that you look at their team, they're the oldest team in in college football. They brought in veterans everywhere. Bringing in veterans is a good thing. You have veterans still on your team, whether it's KP Price or Jaden Skeet. You've got a few veterans here, but you needed to bring in more veterans. And I think that's what they're doing. You're bringing in guys that are third years, that are not, high school bodies anymore. They've been in the college weight room for 2 years. This will be their third. That's important. Okay. I've said as well, the one piece that I don't understand and I'm very skeptical of right now until they can prove it to me is the quarterback position, because you have filled the rest of this roster with guys that can play and have played, and you bring in a quarterback, 3 of them that have never played and 1 that played at a division couple down below. Now, again, going from what the staff thinks, the staff themselves think the world of him, of Mason McKay. That's my biggest question right there. But this uncharted territory, is this going to be the new norm for BC? Are they going to have a mass exodus every year? I would be very surprised to see what happens. After this season, you could play out a few different things. If they do well, I would say it probably would never happen. If Bill has a good year, they make it to a bowl, I would guess that there's not going to be a huge exodus. But let's per se that they struggle again. And maybe, if there was ever a coaching change in the next year or so, like if things don't work, that I could easily see this happening again. It's the norm in college football now. With the way things work with NIL and these contracts that don't have any teeth, players just leave. And we just saw one today. I assumed, and I'll tell you in a second, that this player was going to stay. We found out today he's not. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. There's nothing like college football season, tailgates, packed stadiums, and being right there in the middle of it. The energy, the bands, the moment you remember forever. But actually getting tickets, that part used to be frustrating with long queues, logins, and prices jumping at checkout. That's why Game Time gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I opened the Game Time app to look at college football games this season. I was surprised at how easy it was to find tickets. I love being able to see the view from my seat. I got tickets a group of 9 for BC and UConn early this season. I know. But I got a good deal, and they were sent directly to my phone. Super easy. Had them all set up before I got to Chestnut Hill. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Are you a diehard Locked On Boston College fan? If you're listening to the show, I bet you are. And if you want to take your fandom to the next level, you need to become part of our Everydayer Club. I put out we have 2 tiers here. We have our free tier. I mean, our basic tier. I keep calling it free. It's not free. I apologize. Our basic tier, you get ad-free podcasts. You get onto our Discord, which is our group chat. It's like a Locked On Boston College group chat. It's awesome. And I want to get more of you guys on there. So definitely sign up for that. And there's other little perks that you can find there as well. If you want to take your game to the next elite level, if you want to be elite, you need to go to our Everydayer all access tier. You get special episodes. I'm going to have another one for you tomorrow. It'll be a third one of this week. 3 bonus episodes all about for portal stuff. You do not want to miss this. And you get that as part of your deal. You also get part of our texting service where you can text directly to me, ask me questions, get scoops, get all sorts of fun stuff. I send film clips to you. With Mitch, I've been getting all sorts of different things about film. I've been sending clips so you know what like Chris Jones, the new edge rusher, looks like, or this punter, some of the cool things he's been doing. I've been sending that all to our all access tiers. You want to sign up, you want to get in now. Details are in the show notes. We have a special deal where you get, I think, a month or 2 free. Make sure you take advantage of that today. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black here of Eagle Insider. Thank you so much to all of you who have made Locked On Boston College your team every day and part of your daily routine. I hope you enjoyed my new mic. It's up there. I don't have my headphones on. You get to see my pretty face now. And I want to talk to you about a new item that came out today, news item, excuse me. And that was I should say a surprise. Owen Stodder, defensive tackle, who started quite a few games in 2024, or played quite a few snaps. I think he only started 2 games and got hurt this year, is now in the transfer portal. This one stunned me because as you everydayers know, school started on Monday for the team. If you follow BC football on Twitter, you've seen that they're already working out and working with the conditioning staff. You've seen a lot of players out there. So you've seen Jaden Skeet. So I don't think you need to worry about him going anywhere. Luca Lombardo, there are a couple other players, Isaiah Ferris. You see all those guys out there. So Stodmeyer, defensive tackle, was one that missed last year. I just assumed he was coming back. I thought since, classes started, the portal's been open for almost 10 days, that he was going to stay. But nope, he's in the portal. And this one, it's fine. Like Stodmeyer was fine. Like there's nothing wrong with the way he played. But he's not like he's not replaceable. Like you can find an Owen Stodmeyer. The big piece with this, though, and this is the interesting caveat that this brings up, is you brought in 2 defensive tackles. You have Christian Bishop. I think I got his name right. Christian Hudson. I'm telling you, I need to get a cheat sheet for my shows because these names are going to kill me. Like I need to remember their names. I need to have it right next to me. Christian Hudson, a redshirt freshman from Colorado, and KJ Samson from Florida State. You have 2. Now you have this spot open up. Now they could go back to their board and try to pick off another name that they wanted to get at defensive tackle, or they could see, there's more and more names that are popping up now. Like BC's in this weird position. I'll talk more about this tomorrow, where the portal opened and they went crazy early, and now all these teams that are finishing up, there's a slew of new talent that they're missing out on, I think. But because they have to do it before the classes start. I wonder if they're going to have the spot, and Bill would be, I think it would be foolish not to fill 105 spots. So he has a new spot open, and you need to get a defensive tackle. Like if you were depending on Owen Stodder, I'm guessing he was probably depended on to be one of your starters. You need to get a good level defensive tackle here. If you get somebody next week, they're going to have to start in the summer. I think that's what's going to happen here. Honestly, like they may be able to get a guy now and then rush him in. That's going to have to go super quick because right now they're in a dead period. I think it's today and tomorrow. But once the dead period ends, they could bring I think they could bring a guy or two in. I know the staff is out doing high school recruiting right now because it's basically over. There's 2 more names that you'll be seeing in the next day or two. Those guys will be, I think they're probably already on campus, but they haven't been announced yet. But this new spot that you have, you're going to have to probably get a guy that come in over the summer. That's probably what's going to end up happening because with BC starting classes on the 12th, you probably can't get like everything done with the visit and all the paperwork done before the start of like, they're probably going to miss like 10, 4 or 5 classes by that point. So I'm guessing that would be a midsummer, like a summer enrollment, but you have to fill this and you need a defensive tackle. I thought they did a good enough job with the 2 guys that they have, but you now need another one. And just like everything I just said in that first segment, it's got to be somebody who's played. Like you can't go out like Hudson is fine, but he basically filled your Sterling Sanders role of a guy that hasn't played at all or very little. You need someone who has maybe not it doesn't have to be the best player, but a guy that can play, a guy that you can get out there and take some snaps. Because if you were I would guess BC was expecting Stodmeyer to come and probably be one of their starting defensive tackles. Now you lost him. You have to find somebody else. And as I said before, there's plenty of defensive tackles out there. There's plenty that you can get that'll be fine. You're going to have you'll have Chris Marable out there too. He's going to be good. I don't know what's going to be the deal with Chuck Nato, kid from Elon who redshirted last year. Interesting. I honestly kind of dig that philosophy with him and Anya Nuisi. Like you brought in these FCS guys that didn't ton of experience, let them sit basically a year and figure it out. I feel like that might help a little bit, but I still think you need one more. And then you want to have the faith that there's no one else that's going to go into the portal at this point. I mean, who's left, right? But I don't doubt. I've seen weirder stuff, right? Anything can happen. Guys can literally, you can have guys on campus right now, enroll at BC, enter the portal, and then go someplace else. It could happen. So I hope it doesn't happen because that's just even more disruptive. And you assume the guys that are staying are guys that want to be there. But all it takes is one agent saying, hey, I heard you can make this much over there. And boom, something changes. So we have one more day. It ends on the 16th. I think it's midnight on the 16th. So you have this 15th and the 16th. Buckle up. Hopefully nothing big changes. I mean, honestly, you look at the roster, other than some young guys and maybe Jaden Skeet, who are they going to take? Right. I guess they could take some of the guys that are on the portal still. Like literally, that's the way things are working with the portal. These guys are signed to BC, but I still think this is crazy. They're signed and enrolled at BC. I still think because the portal is open that they could hit the portal again and then exit out. Because I think I've seen it at other schools already. So weirder things have happened. Hopefully it's a quiet 2 days in that sense. But as I said, we're going to have two more commitments coming in the next 2 days or 3 days. If you're listening on Thursday, there's definitely one on Thursday I heard about. You're going to have someone on offense and someone on defense. That's all I have for now, but that should be coming. And that'll probably fill up your class until they figure out what the heck to do with Owen Steinmeier's spot. So that's my thoughts on him. And the portal wheel never stops churning. And in our final segment, I want to talk about a basketball thought that I had. I'll give you all that in just a moment. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, and thank you all who are part of our Everydayers Club already. If you have, you're getting text scoops from me. You've been getting on our Discord. It's a lot of fun. Gives yourself some fun stuff to do. So hopefully you're doing that. And if you're looking for a second listen, check out Locked On ACC. They're talking about the Miami game coming up. Can they beat Indiana? You want to check that out on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Now, basketball. I have more and more people saying, AJ, talk more about basketball. I have said this before. I am a business, not a charity, so I don't like talking about basketball, but I thought of something that I'm going to continue doing, which is talking about a specific about BC basketball. Right now, BC basketball is near the bottom in basically any category you can think of offensively. It's been that bad. They're 0-4 or 0-5 in the ACC. And you spent most of your NIL money on Donald Hand, and he has struggled. Earl Grant said on Tuesday, that he looked good. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but hey, the reason I want to talk about basketball is because I was thinking about other candidates for head coach at the end of the season. So here's my first one, Jared Dudley. Jared Dudley, why it would work for BC is obviously he's one of the most prolific Boston College players to ever suit up for Boston College, part of one of the biggest years in BC basketball history in 2007 and 2006. And he's had a ton of coaching experience. He's been with the Mavericks. He's got a new gig right now, and a lot of folks really want him here. Will it work? I worry about Jared Dudley as a potential head coach. So if, and it's a big if, BC moves on from Earl Grant, they need to hit a home run with this hire. They need just somebody that can stabilize this program. And the track record for former stars going back to their alma mater after just being an assistant is not good. It's not. Look at recent history. Kenny Payne was a complete disaster at Louisville. He's a legend in the Cardinal organization. And the only experience he had before becoming head coach was with the New York Knicks. Didn't work. Patrick Ewing was a complete disaster for Georgetown. Obviously one of the best Hoya players of all time. BC missed out on that one. And they couldn't get rid of him fast enough. Juwan Howard at Michigan, obviously part of the Fab Five. He was a disaster up there. Penny Hardaway, I believe I had double check. I think he's had a pretty rough run at Memphis. All of these examples, former stars going back to their alma mater with just assistant experience. Every single one of them has failed. Now, if you want to take that chance with Jared Dudley, be my guest. I love Duds. I was there when he was a player. He's one of my favorite all-time players of any sport to cover. I don't want to see him as a head coach. I want to see him in the NBA. I want to see him coaching in the NBA because I think that he'd be most successful. I think it would be a real tough sell here. I think he'd be in a really tough position. I'm not sure he's the right choice. But he's definitely a name, if Earl Grant is fired, that's going to be talked about a lot. There's going to be the fans that want him and the fans that don't. I will be telling you right now, anytime I talk about basketball from here on out, I'm going to give you a new coach that I've been thinking about. That's going to be my new platform. Because I can't talk about BC basketball anymore, or I'm going to start crying because it's so bad. I need to give you something interesting. So anytime I talk about basketball from here on out, I'll give you a new coaching candidate that I thought of. And I thought I'd start it off with Jared Dudley. So anytime you see on that little screen over there, BC basketball thought of the day, just know I'm looking for the future. So thank you all. Follow on Twitter at AJ47. Again, become part of our Everydayers Club. Join me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I'm on all of those. And I hope to see you again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College. Your team every day.